Hi, welcome everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today for the interview. Before we begin, here are some housekeeping items. First of all, have a glass of water ready in case you need it throughout this process. We'd like to apologize for not being able to offer you a bottle of water as we probably would have had if this was the interview personally. Unfortunately, under such circumstances, we can just hope that you'll be as comfortable as you can. Uh, if you want to take a moment throughout any interview, feel free to let us know and we will accommodate. As you already know, we'll be interviewing the project coordinator position in the facilities department at the Toronto Public Health. We're looking for someone to join us in a very dynamic project team. The interview will be conducted as a panel. Please allow me to introduce all of you to the interview panel. Here we have myself. I'm Jacqueline Shen, the Employee Relations Specialist. We have Emma Taylor. She's
Hi.
the Project Manager of Facilities Department at the Toronto Public Health. We have Isabel Wright,
Hi,
who's the
guys.
Human Resources Consultant. We have Irene So. She is the Budget Coordinator who would be working with you if you get this position. And we have Muskan Chitkara.
Hey.
She's our Talent Acquisition Coordinator. So we each have a copy of all of your resumes here in hand, and we'll be referring to your resume throughout the interview for your experience. If you have your cell phones with you right now, please turn it off because we don't want it to disturb or interrupt other people while they're speaking. And please get comfortable and let's get around the table and have yourself introduce each of us before we start with the interview questions. Do we have a volunteer from all of you? No? Maybe Rachel, you'd like to start first?
Sure. So my name is Rachel St. Pierre. I'm currently working as a project coordinator for Hamilton Healthcare Services, and I graduated from a Bachelor of Civil Engineering from McMaster University.
Very nice
Great.
to meet you, Rachel.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Anita, would you like to go next?
Sure, yeah. So my name is Anita Levitas, and at the moment I am a senior project coordinator with Mishak Project Consultants, and I've been doing like project coordination jobs since 2017. So yeah, very interesting.
Great. Thank you. Blair, would you like to go next?
Sure. Okay, so I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Blair Hinton. I'm currently working as a project coordinator here. So I'm currently working as a project coordinator for North Wellington Healthcare. I've been there for 1.5 years, and I studied at York University.
Perfect. Jardine, you're next.
Sure. So my name is Jardine David. I am a senior architectural healthcare project manager at ACOM. I graduated with a bachelor's from the University of Toronto in technical complexity. So I'm really familiar with the process of creating projects in the medical field. And I'm excited to share a little bit of myself with you all.
Excellent. And Ashley, you're last.
Hi, I'm Ashley Sukai. I've been working as a project coordinator for 8 years at Toronto Mental Health Association. I went to the University of Toronto and I studied music.
That's great. So thank you, everyone. And now we're going to begin with our interview questions. We'll be taking notes throughout the process, so please just ignore us if it looks like we're looking down, we're not looking at you. And I just want you to feel comfortable. Again, if you need anything at all throughout the process, just let us know. And Emma will go first with the interview question.
Okay, so for the first question, can you give me an example of a time when you had to juggle between different projects and deadlines and what strategies you used to deal with them? And Jardine, would you like to go first in answering that?
Of course. So I have fallen into a lot of scenarios where I had to prioritize and and multitask in between projects. When I get assigned a new initiative, I talk to my team and involving stakeholders to determine the scope of our project. So we figure out the tentative budget, the timeline, and the payoff. And with that being said, in the case that 2 or more projects are assigned at the same time, I'm able to prioritize which project to choose on. Usually I divide my team to finish the deliverables on both projects so we won't get behind schedule.
Okay, thank you. That was great. Ashley, would you like to answer that?
Sure, yeah. So, whenever I start work, I look at all the tasks I need to complete, and then I make a list and, check off those tasks as I go along. And if something more pressing comes up, then I would complete that task and go back to, what I need to get done.
Okay, thank you. And next, Anita.
Yeah, so I'm very deadline driven. I have 4 years of experience planning and executing multiple commission projects simultaneously on a global scale across 4 continents. So I guess a specific example would be at my last job as a project coordinator at Infinity Merchant Bank, where I had to coordinate and facilitate the work schedules of multiple project teams during each phase of the project lifestyle. So I would say that I have good time management skills. I'm able to identify which skills need more priority so that I can get things done on time.
Awesome, thank you. Rachel, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, for sure. So my first job in project coordination, I was working as a project assistant. So all of my duties included maintaining project files, monitoring project tracking systems. So a lot of time management went into that, balancing all of these different projects going on at the same time. So we tried to make sure that everything was getting done on time, and it turned out to be very, very busy, but we did it.
Awesome. Okay. Last, we have Blair.
Okay, so I think that's a great question. I really value being able to multitask and be effective with managing, multiple tasks at a time and competing demands, and really being able to allocate the right amount of time to the most pressing issues. So I have over 25 years in administration and customer service and sales and marketing. So I'm very used to having more than one project going on at once. And within my project coordinator role that I'm currently in at North Wellington Healthcare, I've had to use our online tool called Asana that really helps with scheduling all the tasks out, and just keeps everyone on track and accountable for all the tasks that we're responsible for.
Okay, awesome. That was great. I will hand it over for our second question.
Thank you, guys. So this is Irene, and my second question for you guys is, please consider a time when an employee or a teammate who approached you with a very technical problem that you are not very familiar with. So what did you do to resolve the issue, and how did it turn out? Okay, so anyone who would like to go first? Jardine, do you want to try?
I can go first.
Yeah, sure.
Of course. So I have dealt with a difficult problem recently at work where most of my colleagues and I had trouble resolving. So one of our hard drives overrode with some of our old files, which had crucial information. So what I did was contact with our technical support department and suggested an update with our hard drive. So not only were we able to recover our files, but we were able to delete some outdated data, which left a lot of storage for some of our future projects.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jardine. So maybe Anita?
Yeah, sure. So I would say that I'm a team player, and one of my skills is that I'm proficient in gathering information. So I work together with that person and I try to help them with that problem. I have experience in maintaining databases, file correspondence, maintaining collaboration software applications. So I just used my technical knowledge to try and help them, but we ended up figuring it out. We did also ask some other colleagues for help because obviously more brains to help solve a problem is better than one.
Sure, yeah. Sure. Thank you, Anita. Ash.
Hi, yeah, sure. I would see if I could solve the problem first and if I could help my colleague out. And, if I couldn't, if it was more complex, then I would call the IT department and get them to come and help us.
Right, right, of course. Thank you, Ashley. And anyone who want to go next?
I can go.
Sure.
I mean, so usually I'll try to solve the problem on my own first because I do have that technological background just from growing up in technology and using it every day. But if I can't solve the problem, then I'll probably contact the IT department because they know how to fix everything. So
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. And last but not least, Blair?
Yeah, so for this type of problem, I think I would first just talk to whoever it is, the coworker that came to me, and see what they've already looked into, see anything they've tried to troubleshoot, and then kind of work together to see if we can figure it out together and let them know that I'm kind of on the same page of not really positive about it. This actually happened recently with a calendar tool that's an add-on that we started to use. That no one really was too familiar with. So we kind of had to work together to figure it out. But yeah, so work together. And then if we couldn't figure it out, bring in someone who's more, better suited to work on that, like an IT department.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you, Blair. And thank you for all your answers. So,
Okay, so my name is Muskan, and my question for you guys is, so a colleague asks you for your thoughts on how they have handled a conflict situation. You don't think they handled it well. Your colleague seems oblivious. In fact, they seem convinced that they've handled it well. What do you tell them in this kind of a situation? Anyone who wants to go first? Rachel?
I can go.
Okay.
okay, I'll go.
Sure.
So I mean, usually like I would try to reason with the situation, probably get all of the facts before deciding like what was right and what was wrong. I mean, I would usually try to avoid conflict in the workplace because you don't really want that to happen. So my instinct would just be like, okay, you're right, that's fine. But if the situation was like severe enough, I'd probably go see management about it.
Okay. Yeah. Um, anyone who wants to go next? Ashley?
Sure. I mean, I wouldn't really be the one to tell them, what's wrong or right. But if I was unsure of like what decision I should make, I would go to a third party source and talk to them and just find out like what my options were in dealing with the situation. And then I would go from there and decide what to do.
Okay, all right. Anita?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I think it really depends on the situation. In my opinion, I think that if it doesn't really involve me, I wouldn't want to damage the relationship with that person if my opinion is completely different. And if there isn't a point to start an argument, then, there'd be no reason to do that. However, if it does directly affect me or the organization in some way, then I feel like I would just tell them how I would have handled the situation and just see how that plays out. Maybe explain my opinion on like the differences of why I would have said what I would have said instead. Again, if it does escalate, then I do agree. And I think that it should go to higher management.
Okay, yeah. Blair, would you like to add on something?
Sure. Yeah. So for this, I think I would first just really hear the colleague out and hear, again, what they've tried and how they think it went for them. So if they think they really did the right thing and I'm disagreeing, I would take a second and get all the facts together and make sure that I'm coming at it from an objective point of view. So in my experience as a franchise owner, I actually owned a coffee shop, a Second Cup cafe in Orangeville. And so there are a lot of situations, working with the public where I would have handled something differently than, say, one of the people who was working for me as a barista. So in this case, I would just take them aside and go over what I would have done. But also, if there was a conflict and we couldn't come to terms with an agreement, I might get another manager to jump in and kind of look at it from another objective point of view.
All right. Jordy?
Sure. So I have come across a lot of these situations with my team. I had a colleague tell me that they were stuck on a project and they decided to wait it out. So as someone in a position to lead and teach, I did approach this colleague and gave them some advice on what I would do instead. But unfortunately, they were very defensive about their stance and their situation. So what I did was to remain calm and instead focus on a difficult situation my colleague was going through, and they had a deliverable due the next day, and their teammate in a different department didn't read or respond to their assignment. So I would have felt stressed for them as well. So what I suggested to my colleague was to assign that deliverable to another team member in that department. So thankfully they were responsive and that colleague was able to get the job done.
All right, thank you so much, everybody, for your responses.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. We'd like to thank you guys all for coming in today. And at this time, I'm just wondering if there's any questions that you have for us that we can answer.
Is there a start date you guys were hoping to have someone in by? And also maybe like, how long do you think this process for hearing back might be?
So as for a start date, we'd obviously like to get someone on as soon as possible, given the current climate with COVID and everything. Stuff is moving very quickly in our organization right now. However, with your current positions, we'd want to make sure that you have ample time to let your current boss know that you will be leaving the company and make the transition to us. We're trying to make a decision in terms of who will be joining our team within the next couple of weeks. So you can expect to have a better answer within the next 2 weeks. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm just curious to know, how do you help your staff grow professionally?
Jackie, do you want to field this one?
Sure. So we have a lot of internal trainings available at, inside. They're available to register online. So you're free to go in if you're an employee to look into that. We have a lot of project management, presentation skills, and Microsoft Office training. And you just have to work out your schedule in terms of your workload and definitely work it out with your manager. And if you have the manager approval, you can go ahead and sign up. We do have a budget of $5,000 per employee for external trainings, external professional development. So if there's any skills or knowledge that you feel like you need to gain from outside resources, outside academic standards, definitely feel free to discuss with your manager, and you can use your allocation, your education allocation to do so. As a project coordinator, eventually we like to, if you don't already have a PMP designation, eventually we would like you to pursue that PMP certification. So definitely we will accommodate, the time you need required to take the training and to pursue the designation.
I have a question as well. I want to add on, what does your training program look like?
Jackie, I think you can cover this one as well.
Yeah, so most of the internal training programs are available online. At your own time, you can sign up and just take the training at your, based on your own schedule. If it's an external training, then like I said, you could work out with your manager. We do allow pay time off to go outside for your professional development courses.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. What's the salary range for this level of position?
So as listed on our job description, the salary is about 50K to 70K a year, but that would totally depend on your previous qualifications and job experience. So it would vary per candidate.
Thank you.
So any more questions?
All right.
Or we're all good?
Okay, so if we don't have any more questions, I would like to thank you guys all again for taking the time to come meet with us today. We are going to be deliberating in the next few days, and you'll be contacted within the next 2 weeks if you've been selected to move on in our selection process. Somebody from our organization, most likely myself, will be contacting you via phone. So make sure you keep your ringer on and are ready to chat with me when I call. In the meantime, if you do think of any other questions about the position, you can contact me at isabel.wright@georgebrown.ca. That's isabel.wright@georgebrown.ca. And once again, thank you guys all for coming in today. It's been a pleasure meeting you all.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.